You saw the thumbnail, you read the title. Let's go.
Excuse me, Masen.
Welcome to another episode of the Excuse Me Masen podcast, where we bridge Japanese and English speaking cultures through personal stories and real life experiences. I'm your host, Saul, and if I tell you that I've been living here since 2011, you might be thinking, here we go, what kind of gatekeeper bull is this guy going to try to feed me? But the reason I mentioned that is because having lived here this long, only having chances to have legit conversations in English every few weeks to months, I've grown out of touch and out of the loop with all the new slang and meme terms back in the US. And every once in a while, I hear something I've never heard before. So I figured, let me see what the new words are popping back home with young people, and why not find out what the Japanese equivalents of these words are while I'm at it. I realized that some of you, like myself, until recently, may not know some of the English memes. So I'll give the definitions as far as I could find on Google. Example sentences, the origins of the words, if I was able to find any, followed by the Japanese equivalents and a relevant personal experience with each of the words, if I have any. So getting right into it, the first word I have here is bop, which is B-O-P, very simple. And I actually know this one as meaning a catchy song, because I specifically remember seeing commercials on TV when I was a kid advertising music CDs called Kids Bop. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that, but it was basically a collection of popular songs like the top hits basically that were covered by kids, where the cuss words and like innuendo and any other stuff that's considered bad were taken out to make the songs PG or kid friendly, which is kind of awkward to me because according to my research, in recent slang, it's actually now used derogatorily to label someone, often a young woman, as promiscuous or a slut, basically. So like, she's been hanging out with a lot of dudes lately. Everyone says she's a bop. And as far as the origin information that I was able to find, it says that in 2022, the meaning shifted on platforms like TikTok, where it began to be used to shame individuals, particularly young women, by labeling them as promiscuous. And this usage has been linked to cyberbullying and slut-shaming behaviors, apparently. But hey, wait a minute. Doesn't Usher have a new... Yeah, I think Usher has a new song in his latest album where he actually says the word like bop a lot of times. I don't know if it means it the same way. I need to check that out. And since we're talking about sluts, that brings me to the Japanese equivalent, which is actually yariman. And this one actually, to me, it sounds like some kind of Jamaican or Rastafarian term like, yeah, man, give us some heat. Give us some heat here, man. But with a D in the middle, like yariman. And this one I've actually known for a really long time. It's a derogatory Japanese slang term, and it's used to describe a sexually promiscuous woman, akin to the English term slut. So bop and yariman are equivalents. For example, someone might say like, 彼女は yariman だと噂されている. So meaning she is rumored to be a slut, right? The term is a compound of yari, derived from the verb yaru, which of course means to do or to have sex, right? And then man is the shortened form of the vulgar term for female genitalia. If you don't already know, you can look it up. I'm not in the mood to like go into that stuff because I don't want to get flagged for whatever. But that reminds me, back in like, I want to say like 2008 or maybe 2009, I was visiting Kato, who you guys know as Robin on Nomad Push, but I was visiting at his old work, and he used to actually work at this like studio rental space where like you pay, I think it's like $25 an hour. You go in, there's like a drum set, there's guitars and stuff like that. And then like a giant mirror, and then there's recording equipment if you want to record yourself. So you just rent that space and you can use it for whatever musical stuff you want to do. But anyways, his old boss there, who was a psycho, by the way, introduced their coworker to me by calling her a yariman. And she was laughing the whole time, by the way. But of course, I didn't know what it meant at the time. So I asked Kato to translate, and he goes, it means she likes to a lot. And he's saying she likes you, to which I say, oh, thanks. And then his boss just blurts out the word paipan, which I also didn't know at the time. So again, I look at Kato to translate, and he clearly looks like uncomfortable at the time, right? And or embarrassed. And then he says, paipan means shaved. And at this point, the vibe in the room is like really off. So I just give my awkward laugh, and with an uncomfortable smile, I'm like, oh, nice. And then Kato saves me by turning me away from them and introducing me to his other coworker. And in case you happen to be one of my friends who's wondering, I did not do anything with her. That beaver was a little bit too eager for my taste, but his boss was a psycho. Like I said, I heard some crazy stories about this dude, but the one I actually was exposed to is this one time Kato shows me a picture on his phone of his boss, and his boss is just standing by a vending machine showing the peace sign. Very, like, it seems like an innocent picture, right? And it's a typical Japanese pose. And at first I was like, what's so special about this? He's just taking a photo next to the vending machine. And Kato goes, look down. So I glance down and go, oh, what the is that? And at this point, you probably already guessed, but this dude's jeans are unbuttoned, zipper all the way down, and his tiny little pecker is peeking out, right? And it made me want to puke, man. I was just, you know. But anyways, yeah, Yariman is a bop, which I also recently learned means slut. So I didn't know the word bop before researching for this episode. You probably know it way better than I do, because majority of you guys who listen to the show are in the US, or yeah, you probably know. Which brings me to the next word. And number 2 on this list is actually delulu, which I also didn't know before looking up for this episode. Make me feel so old. But it's a playful abbreviation of delusional, used to describe someone holding unrealistic beliefs or fantasies, often in the context of fan culture. So like, he thinks he'll marry his favorite pop star. He's totally delulu. Delulu originated around 2014, apparently, within K-pop fan communities to describe fans with unrealistic fantasies about their idols. The term gained broader popularity on social media platforms like TikTok starting 2022, so it's also pretty new. And then even the Japanese equivalent is completely new to me. I never heard this one before, and it is chunibyo. Literally, that means second year middle school syndrome. So chu meaning middle school, ni second year, and bio sickness. It refers to a phase, usually during early adolescence, where someone acts as if they have secret powers, knowledge, or a special destiny, often behaving dramatically or with exaggerated self-importance. And as far as I was able to find, chunibyo was actually coined by Japanese radio personality Ijuin Hikaru in the late 1990s to describe cringy adolescent behavior. And it became widespread in Japanese pop culture, especially in anime, memes, and online slang. I asked my wife about this one to make sure it's not like fake, because there's a lot of information online right now that's just AI slop or like not even true information. Like, for example, you know, they have those lists on YouTube where they say like, oh, these are the things you should never do in Japan. And then they always have this one that says, you're not supposed to eat while walking, which is. And then I even checked my wife. I was like, is it true that you're not supposed to eat while walking? And she goes, no. The only people who say that are people who are making content online. And then if you eat something while you're walking around, nobody's going to look at you messed up. It's just somebody made that up somewhere along the line. And then these other content creators online just pick it up and carry it along. But so I actually have an experience with this, the chunibyo, not the word itself, but the idea that people in early adolescence might feel like they have secret powers. So I know this person who, when they were a kid, right around that age, every time they wash their hands, right, as soon as they're done washing their hands, they would do this weird, I don't even know how to describe it, like take the fingers and kind of like almost as if they're trying to splash water on somebody's face, but do it towards their own mouth and go like blow on their fingertips as they're doing that like snapping motion. I don't know what the hell that thing was. I asked the kid at the time, I was like, what does that mean? And the kid was like, oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. But it was pretty weird. And then, yeah, so let's just jump to the next one. So the next one on this list that I heard a bunch of times, but I had no idea what the hell it meant. And this word, you've probably heard it a million times, and you probably even know what it means. Skibidi. I'm like, what the is a skibidi? It's a humorous slang used as a flexible / joke word meaning cool, bad, or even nothing in particular. For example, you might say something like, that outfit is kind of skibidi, bro. Like, I can't tell if it's cool or just weird, but it's definitely doing something. And then what I was able to find with the origin was that the word skibidi comes from Little Big's 2018 song, which featured a quirky dance that went viral. And then in 2023, the term was further popularized by the Skibidi Toilet YouTube series depicting surreal scenarios involving toilets with human heads. I saw the picture, I looked at it, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. The Japanese equivalent that I was able to find, the closest at least, was yabai, which we've talked about in previous episode. And yabai, actually, and I'll explain again, is a Japanese slang adjective meaning dangerous, risky, things are going badly. And especially among younger speakers, it also means amazing, awesome, really good, depending on the context and the tone. And then as far as the origin goes, I was able to find that dictionaries trace yabai back to yaba, taking away the I at the end, which is an older term meaning something like dangerous, unlawful, problematic, which later became the adjective yabai. And I found multiple origin theories for where yaba, without the I, came from. And the sources don't treat one as universally confirmed, but there are two examples that stand out the most. And the first one, of course, is yaba. They're both yaba, but the first one says that in Edo period accounts, yaba refers to a shooting gallery or target game place. And multiple explanations say that these places sometimes had illegal backroom activity, often described as prostitution, which attracted crackdowns. So being there or getting involved could be dangerous or bad news, leading to a path like yabai as a that's risky expression. And another story says that yaba referred to a jail or prison setting or guards, and people in trouble supposedly used yaba as a warning, like watch out or the guard or trouble's coming, which later became yabai to mean this is dangerous or we're about to get caught. And according to the information, yabai can be traced back to the Edo period, yaba meaning dangerous, unlawful, risky, but what yaba originally came from is presented as uncertain with multiple competing theories, including the two that I mentioned. And I covered this in a previous episode, like I said. It's a super common term. I hear it used by people of all ages all the time. So the next word on this list is Riz. And I didn't know this one again before. And so it's pretty fun for me to learn about this stuff online, assuming that the stuff that I found is correct, right? But so Riz is short for charisma as a noun. It refers to someone's ability to attract others romantically. As a verb, to riz up, it means to charm or seduce someone. Pretty interesting. For example, he's got mad riz. Everyone seems drawn to him. The term riz was popularized by YouTuber and Twitch streamer Kai Cenat around 2021, and he used it to describe the skill of seducing or charming a potential romantic partner. Didn't know that. And then the Japanese equivalent that I was able to find is not even really like a meme. It's just a Japanese word that's similar, and that's moteru or motemote. And moteru or motemote is a widely used Japanese slang term that means to be popular, especially in a romantic or dating sense. Someone who is moteru naturally attracts attention, admiration, or affection from others without necessarily trying. And the doubled form, motemote, adds emphasis, meaning super popular or getting a lot of attention. So you can say something like, あの人クラスで一番モテるよ, which basically just means he's the most popular person in the class. Or 最近モテモテじゃん。どうしたの? Like, you've been super popular lately. What's going on? And the verb moteru comes from the classical Japanese verb motsu, which means to hold, and it evolved over time into its slang use, implying someone holds the favor or interest of others. And it became widespread through youth conversation, dating talk, and variety shows. I actually learned this one way back in the before 2010 from karaoke, and also from this Japanese drama called Densha Otoko, which is like about this nerd who saves this girl on a train, or he imagines himself saving a girl on a train, which he actually didn't. And then that word actually comes up a lot. The next word on the list is Sigma, which I thought it was just like a camera lens brand because I'm into photography and stuff like that. But it refers to a Sigma male, a man who chooses to live independently from traditional social hierarchies, often characterized as a lone wolf. So, for example, you could say like he prefers to work alone and doesn't conform to societal expectations. He's a true Sigma. The concept of the Sigma male emerged from the manosphere in the early 2010s as a counter to the alpha and beta male classifications. And it describes men who operate outside traditional social dominance hierarchies. I did not know about this word. I only knew about alpha and beta. Yeah, I was even called by one of the trolls. One of the trolls on YouTube called me a beta. But Sigma, that sounds pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like a positive one. But the Japanese equivalent that I was able to find, and it's Ippiki Okami. This sounds really old to me just by hearing it. And I didn't know this one beforehand, but it's an idiomatic Japanese expression meaning lone wolf, exactly that. And it describes a person who chooses to act independently rather than join or conform to social groups, often used to portray someone as self-reliant, mysterious, or nonconformist, similar to the English concept of a Sigma male. So for example, you could say something like, 彼はいつも一人で行動する一匹狼タイプだ. And that basically just means he's the type of person who always acts alone, a true lone wolf. Yeah, and then major Japanese dictionary documentation, such as the Nihon Kokugo Daijiten, lists its earliest cited example of Ippiki Okami used to describe a person in 1968, citing Kita Morio's Kodomo, which is a short fictional piece, which includes the line, 自分は一匹狼という意識から断ってきた. But the phrase also appears as a Japanese film title as early as 1950, which is just like straight up Ippiki Okami. And it indicates that it was already established as a recognizable term by that time. So again, not a new term. I didn't know about it, but Ippiki Okami sounds pretty cool. Ippiki Okami, like you get that like a tattoo or something. But yeah, let's go on. So the next one I was able to find was Giga Chad. A Giga Chad. I was under the impression that the word Chad was bad, but in researching for this show, it said like Chad is actually good. I don't know. Maybe it's like mixed depending on where you're from, but yeah, Giga Chad. Apparently, it's an internet meme depicting an exceptionally attractive and masculine man, often used humorously to represent the pinnacle of male physical perfection. But the Giga Chad meme is associated with digitally altered photographs from the art project Sleek in Tears by Russian photographer Krista Sudmalis. I might be butchering that name, but the images feature model Ernest Kalimov and have been used to represent hypermasculinity. And so Giga Chad, yeah, it's pretty interesting. The Japanese I was able to find, the Japanese equivalent that I was able to find was Muki Muki. And I've known this one for a while too. I've heard it used by a lot of people. And it's a Japanese onomatopoeic slang term used to describe someone with a very muscular, well-defined physique. The repetition of muki evokes the image of swollen, bulging muscles like flexed biceps or a ripped torso. For example, you can say something like "muki muki natten jan," like you're getting pretty buff, bro. But here's a cultural note that I want to make. So while muki muki fits the physical description of Giga Chad, it's important to recognize that hypermasculinity is not typically idolized in Japanese mainstream culture. Japanese standards of male attractiveness often prioritize slimness, cleanliness, subtlety, and emotional sensitivity. which you would see in Japan as the ikemen archetype. And as a result, extremely muscular physiques are usually viewed as niche or comedic or even athletic, of course, but not necessarily aspirational or ideal. And yeah, you can just see by the commercials you see in Japan, it's always like toothpick skinny dudes with like really pretty faces. And yeah, so moving on to the next one. The next word I was able to find was brain rot. And this one sounds pretty obvious, but it is the slang for the negative cognitive effects or mental fatigue resulting from consuming low quality or excessive digital content. So you could say, for example, like after scrolling through memes all night, I feel like I've got brain rot. And the phrase dates back to 1854, but the internet slang usage, meaning mental mush from consuming low value online content, surged in the 2020s and entered mainstream usage. The Japanese equivalent for this one is actually the same word in katakana, brain rotto. And yeah, so in Japan, brain rotto is mainly recognized by Gen Z and Gen Alpha, who are highly engaged with online culture. And man, speaking of brain rot, dude, I feel like these days, practically everything is brain rot, especially because of this AI slop that's everywhere and just like rage baiting stuff and overall just engagement farming, stuff that's intended to get you to click and to comment. So annoying, as they said in the movie Chef, Twitter. But anyways, moving on. So the next word I actually really like. I only heard this one used for real recently, and it's GYAT, as in GYATT. I'm sure you guys know this one already, but GYAT is a popular slang term used to express surprise, admiration, or excitement when someone, usually a woman, has a noticeably curvy body, especially in the hips or backside. And it's often shouted or typed as a reaction similar to damn or damn. So example, you'd be like, GYAT, did you see what she was wearing? Or, yo, that's a GYAT if I ever seen one, bro. I seen it. I seen it. But anyways, yeah, so GYAT comes from a slurred or compressed way of saying goddamn, popularized by Twitch streamers, especially Your Rage and others in the US gaming and reaction content scene. It became a viral meme sound and word around 2022 or 2023 and quickly spread across TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and meme compilations. And the Japanese equivalent that I was able to find, and I did verify if this is for real with my wife, but it's bon cute bon. It's like 3 different words said together. Bon cute bon. And the term bon cute bon combines Japanese onomatopoeic sounds to represent the curvaceous silhouette. Bon imitates the sound of something protruding or bursting out, symbolizing a full bust. Cute represents the sound of something being tightly constricted, indicating a slim, narrow waist, like cute. And then bon, the last one, repeats the initial sound to denote well-rounded hips. Bon, cute, bon. That's funny. Never actually used that one before. Never heard it before researching for this episode, but that is funny. That's good stuff. And so you could say like, 彼女はbon cute bonの体型でとても魅力的だ. So she has an hourglass figure that is very attractive, basically. The next one on the list is mewing, I think it's called. And it's apparently a technique involving proper tongue posture, specifically pressing the tongue against the roof of the mouth, purported to enhance facial structure and jawline definition over time. As far as I was able to find, mewing was developed by British orthodontist Dr. John Mew in the 1970s as part of his broader practice called orthotropics, which aims to guide facial growth through oral posture and natural forces rather than traditional orthodontic tools. The technique became popular with the rise of social media, particularly TikTok and YouTube, where influencers and practitioners promoted its supposed benefits for enhancing the jawline and facial structure. While mewing has gained popularity online, there is no substantial scientific evidence to support its effectiveness, especially in adults whose facial bones have already matured. Many claims regarding mewing's benefits are anecdotal and lack clinical backing. Dr. John Mew's methods have been controversial, and in 2019, he was stripped of his dental license by the UK's General Dental Council due to his non conventional practices and criticisms of traditional orthodontic methods. His son, Dr. Mike Mew, who advocates the same techniques, has also faced professional consequences, including expulsion from the British Orthodontic Society in 2022. Despite these controversies, mewing continues to thrive as a social media trend and is frequently discussed in various online communities focused on self-improvement and cosmetic enhancement. Wow, so there's all kinds of controversy. This is like in that previous episode when I talked about that rice thing where the guy said like, the guy put rice 3 times, or he put rice in water, and then he said good stuff to one container, bad stuff to another container, and then nothing to the other container. And then they saw over the course of time that the stuff that he said nice stuff to still looked pretty good. Stuff that he said bad stuff to looked pretty bad. And then the stuff that he didn't say anything to was like black. And then they actually figured out that reproducing the results that he got was practically impossible because it would just be all over the place. Those are cherry-picked results. And it sounds like that's what happened here. But yeah, so the Japanese equivalent is actually the same thing. It's mewing. And in July 2024, this magazine called Makia, which is a prominent beauty magazine, published an article entitled Mewing to wa, which basically means what is mewing. And they explained the trending tongue training method. And then there was a blog post titled Mewing to wa, it's the same thing, what is mewing, on the website of Hana Kyosei Shika Oi Machi, which is a dental clinic in Shinagawa, Tokyo, and it explores the concept of mewing. It presents perspectives from orthodontic professionals discussing the technique's popularity, claimed benefits, and addressing concerns regarding its scientific validity. So at least in the blog, they question it. But in the Makia article, it seems as though they're just saying like, what is it? And wow, that's interesting. And then from there, everybody decides if they believe it or not. But from what I was able to find, mewing is bull, and that's it. But it is really popular, even in Japan. So that's pretty interesting. And I know that it's popular in Japan too, because I've been told by Japanese women like way back that, oh, if you want to make your jawline sharp, all you have to do is like put the inside of your tongue to the top of your mouth and then make it really hard. And I was like, okay. And that was it. But yeah, moving on to the last one. So the last one we have on this list is actually Ohio. You know, like Ohio gozaimasu. No, Ohio as in like the state Ohio. And I didn't know this one before I researched for this list, but apparently it's used in memes to describe bizarre, cursed, or absurd situations, often with surreal or chaotic humor, sometimes used as an adjective. That's so Ohio. Like you could say something like, that cat just rode a unicycle into a volcano, bro. That's straight up Ohio energy. And as far as I was able to find for the origin, the Only in Ohio meme began around 2018, originally from Reddit, where users exaggerated the idea that strange, surreal, or cursed events always happen in the state of Ohio. The meme later gained significant popularity on TikTok in 2022, where users created content featuring bizarre scenarios tagged with Ohio, and then it became a running joke that anything weird or absurd must have happened in Ohio. The meme evolved into a label for chaotic internet content, with videos often incorporating distorted audio, glitched effects, or absurd, surreal scenarios for comedic effect. Ohio, that's pretty cool. But the Japanese equivalent that I was able to find is Nihon dake, which of course basically means Japan only. And it's also a phrase used to describe bizarre, absurd, or unique situations, but this time seemingly to only happen in Japan. And it's often used humorously to highlight the surreal or quirky nature of certain events that stand out in Japanese culture. So it's similar, very similar to like Only in Japan. And yeah, that one also, I mean, it's a pretty basic Japanese. It doesn't even sound like how Ohio does. With Ohio, you kind of have to explain it. But Nihon dake just means like, only in Japan. But that's it. That's it for the list that I have. Yeah, if you like the show and want to help it grow, please consider clicking the various buttons. And until next time, excuse me, Masen, and see you.